Hey everyone. In this video, I'm going to go over what is, in my opinion, the fastest way to max rank a frame. So this video is going to be specifically the fastest way to max a frame, right? I will have another video that will go over specifically the fastest way to rank weapons, and then another one that'll go over the fastest way to rank them up together. So for this video, we're just going to be talking about frames and everything like that. So the first thing that I want to go over is how leveling a frame or leveling anything in this game works. So every kill that you get is going to give you what's called affinity. So if you die, that's what you use to revive yourself. You're essentially using affinity to revive yourself in that case. This can be built up by killing enemies, I believe, completing objectives, things like that. That will also give you some affinity and, mission completions, that kind of thing. You get affinity from a lot of things. Now, what we are going to be taking advantage of is the aspect of stealth kills. Now, stealth kills will give you bonus affinity per kill up to 500% bonus affinity consistently. So there are two main methods. The first one is very simple. It's very easy. I'm not going to show it because you're going to see it in other videos as well. That strategy is you literally just take Thermal Sunder from Gauss, you throw it on the frame that you're trying to max rank, and then you go into Sanctuary Onslaught, or if you are MR30 or higher, you take that frame into Elite Sanctuary Onslaught after it's been formatted at least once, otherwise it won't let you do it, and you can level it up there, right? That's how that works. So what I will show you is, I will show you that first, right? So if we go over to Ember, for example, she has Thermal Sunder on her. You just have a build like this. You run Energized Steadfast. This one is actually a little wrong because you should be running Equilibrium. I just went to a random frame, so sorry about that. But this is roughly kind of what you're looking for. You want a lot of range, a little bit of strength, some duration, and you want Energize and Steadfast. Now, some of you might not have Energize and Steadfast. If you have one or the other, that's fine. If you have something else that you want to put there for, energy or ability effectiveness or anything like that, you can do that. The main point is that you are just trying to spam Thermal Sunder as much as you can. If you want it to nuke faster, then you will need to keep popping heat on it about 2 times, and then, hit the cold, and it'll, scale the damage, because when you helmet it, as it says right here, altered, scaling from the heat status on enemies capped to 10% ability damage. So you need the heat damage in order for it to actually, do stuff. So yeah, that's how that is. I'm not going to show that because you're going to see that when I go over how to max rank weapons. You will see a little bit of that. But in terms of frames, that is one of the that's a very effective way of doing that. Now, the most effective way is, again, going to be this right here. So what this build is going to revolve around is enough range so that silence paired with its augment is going to essentially stun enemies as you are, rushing through this mission, right? And all the enemies are going to be staggered. They're not going to be looking at you and everything like that. So you can very easily benefit from these stealth kills that you get. You run Energize for, energy sustained throughout the mission, and you run Arcane Acceleration because the main weapon that you're going to be running with this is the Kuva Brahma. Now, the Kuva Brahma is an explosive cluster bomb bow, and with this build, you could run a slightly, if you don't, like, for example, if you don't have primed cryo rounds, you could run regular cryo rounds. If you don't have galvanized chamber, you can run split chamber, right? It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but I will say you want it to be as close to this as possible. If you don't have heavy caliber, You can run Serration. So these are the mods that you're going to want on here. I'm going to hover over them real quick just so you can see what each of them does. So as you can see, it's just, this isn't something that I would recommend you take into Steel Path, but it is something that will give you a lot of utility when ranking up the frame and things like that. So for the companion that you're going to be running, you're going to be running Carrier Prime or Carrier with no weapon and literally just these 3 mods. That's it. That's all you need. Literally just these 3 mods. And that is pretty much it for this. Now, this sounds like a lot of setup. You got to get Silence, you got to get its Augment, you got to get a Kuva Brahma, you got to get the mods to put on the Brahma. But this is one of those strategies where it's a lot of work up front for an insane amount of gain later. And the other thing that this doubles as is this doubles as a focus farm. Perfectly fine, because all of the focus that you get comes from the amount of affinity that you gain. A portion of the affinity that you gain is converted into focus. So this is killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You are having a Warframe level farm that's getting you max rank frames in roughly 3 minutes or so, or 3 to 4 minutes-ish. And then you are also having an extremely good focus farm. Now, some tips that I will say, and I will go over right here, is let's say you want to amp this even further. One thing that I will say is you need an affinity booster if you want this to be absolutely insane. An affinity booster is amazing to have. If you do not have an affinity booster, that is fine. What you can do is you can go to specifically Strata Relay is usually the busiest relay. In my opinion, you can go here and go to any of the busy instances, and if you're the type that doesn't mind begging, you can ask people that are above, or that are MR30 or higher, to give you a resource blessing, or not, sorry, a affinity blessing, or you can just wait. Depends on, you know, how confrontational you are. So either or, and that'll give you a 25% increase in affinity for, I think it's like 2 or 4 hours, something like that. It gives you a bit. And these can also stack, by the way. So you can have the affinity booster and you can go get the affinity blessing, and they should stack. I don't see any reason why they won't. You can get both, and it'll help a lot. So that's pretty much it for the tips and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the mission that you're going to be using for this, which is Adaro on Sedna, not Steel Path. Adaro on Sedna Exterminate. And I'm going to essentially just talk about this as I'm running through it and showing, and, you know, talking over it and showing you exactly what you're going to be doing. So you go into the mission, invite only, and you're running the frame, you're running the weapon, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to be showing this in the form of a focus farm, specifically because that's a way that you can see the amount of affinity that you're going to be gaining without me needing to, you know, go through and actually, you know, put a form on this guy or anything like that. So just run through. You bomb everything as you're running through. Everything that you see, you're just going to be bombing. At some point, you will see a convergence orb spawn. This is going to be if you're focus farming, right? So you pick that up, run through, keep going. Sometimes this can happen where if you left an enemy behind, you get a little screwed. You just don't know where the enemies are, but you can just keep going through like that. Kill the enemies as you see them. You don't have to kill every enemy that you come across, you just need to kill the main ones to be able to get the bonus and everything like that.
Stay focused. There's a heavy unit approaching.
One more. There we go. That's 161,000 focus. That was kind of a meh run because we got a little messed up right there. When it first procced, it was showing the enemies were still behind because you don't have to kill all of them. But that is also a portion of the amount of affinity that you're going to be gaining, right? So I have two Lua. I think it might be Vazarin. I can't remember which ones I have on, but it's two of them, right? And that's how much focus we got from that. And that was 1 minute and 49 seconds. So that's a percentage of total that you would have gotten. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to Forma Noko, and I'm going to show you how much and how fast this would actually max rank Noko, because the other thing that you got to think about is that's how much affinity we gained when we were picking up the Convergence Orb and running through the mission, right? That's how much we were gaining there. That's not counting how much we would be gaining in total had we been taking into consideration all of the affinity from all of the enemies in the mission. So what we're going to do, we're just going to go back into the same mission, and we're going to run it again, run it back, and it's going to be the same process. You just run through really quick. So the first thing you want to do, pop silence, go in here, kill these guys, ruin their day. They're having a tea party, you don't care. You want them dead, you want them gone. And the whole point is you want to be fast. The faster you are, the better. As I mess up. The faster you are, the better, because you want to give them the least amount of time possible to actually become unstaggered. Which is why you're not running crazy range. You're just running enough range to stagger them as you're running through. There's a focus orb. We're going to pick that up. We're going to kill these guys. We're going to go over here. Kill these guys, run through here. You can also see on the map where they are. Should be some more enemies over here. Right, there's gonna be some down there. So over here. Here's a big squad of them. Pop it again. Kill them. Kill them again. Whenever you see an Xmas enemy, that's what you love to see. And the reason why is because they give a ton of affinity. A ton.
There's a heavy unit approaching.
So, this is a dead room. But there's some more. There's some more. Some more there. Some more there. That was an Xmas right there. And what you're shooting for as you're going through this is you're shooting to hit rank 20. If you hit rank 20, you're done. You're golden. Right, so you keep going through. And yeah, so that's about it for that one. That run right there. That was almost 2 minutes and rank 26. Right? So you could run through that entire mission again for the first 8 seconds-ish, right? And we'll be rank 30. So that is it for this video. That is my strat for how to max rank frames the fastest way. In my opinion, this is the fastest way. And yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed. If you have any questions or anything like that, please leave them in the comments below, and I will gladly reply to anything that y'all want to say, any comments that y'all have, anything like that. Thank you for watching, and I hope y'all have a great day.